Welcome to America's Heroes Group.
Welcome back to America's Heroes Group, a roundtable with our partner, National Nurses United. Today is Saturday, June 18th, 2022. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Father's Day. June is LGBTQ plus Pride Month. We have first heard our host during the break, Kelley. I'm Sean Claiborne, the co-host. Glenda Smith is our executive producer, and our digital media producer is Ivan Ortega of Scouts Arnold Productions. And we have our partner on the line, Adelena Marshall. She's a VA mental health nurse, and we wants to talk about a warning about fatty livers, particularly in young adults. What's going on with that?
Well, I thank you for having me today on the program. I just want to let all our young men, black males, that we're starting to see an increase in fatty liver among our population. And this doesn't have anything to do with alcoholism, but it has a lot to do with our health, the way we eat, not exercising. And it's also associated with metabolic syndrome, meaning that if you're type 2 diabetic, and that sometimes this is found incidental when they have other x-rays or things done. But I'd like to encourage our listening audience, especially it's Father's Day, so everybody look at your loved one and their health during this period of time and encourage them to be very aware that this disease is starting to show up among younger males, particularly.
Now, what age group are we talking about? Are we talking teenagers? Are we talking 20s?
We're talking 20 to 30, 40-year-olds, and those without any alcohol history or drinking a lot of alcohol or anything. If they're alcoholics, certainly you are going to be concerned about your liver. But these are signs that occur. These are things that are occurring without anyone having a history of alcohol consumption.
And so people are clear, though, besides just gaining weight, what are some of the dangers of having a fatty liver? What are the health risks associated with that?
Well, the health risk associated with that is that it can lead to cirrhosis of the liver, and that can lead to death. And a lot of times people aren't really aware that they're having these issues, but some of the earlier signs of cirrhosis can be your skin is itching a lot, your eyes are turning yellow. A lot of times you'll start seeing fluid accumulation in the abdominal area, and but this fatty liver kind of sneaks up on you because you don't get a lot of warning that this is going on in your body or things that you probably wouldn't pay much attention to. Just that you may not be feeling well and, you're just tired. So sometimes we just want to blow off some of those things, but we have to be very aware of what is going on in our body.
So you're saying not necessarily you may not be obese or look overweight. You can still have a fatty liver?
Right. You may not be obese, but if you are obese, this is one of the things you should be concerned about. You may not be obese. It could just be due to the kind of foods that we're adding in our diet that produce more fat, and the fat's not being broken down appropriately. Sometimes if you're diabetic also, this is something to be concerned about because they're seeing it in type 2 diabetic. And it's being viewed as a metabolic syndrome. So if you have diabetes, you have thyroid problems, if you go into your doctor, just have them to do a total workup on you to make sure that your liver is healthy.
So what's the guideline for having a truly healthy diet? I remember when I was a kid, he taught us the food pyramid, but then as I got older, they said the food pyramid really wasn't something that was a good idea to follow because it's not like a good idea to get a bunch of carbohydrates and eat a lot of bread and sugars and complex sugars and all kind of stuff. So what truly is a healthy diet for the average person? What should we be eating?
Well, the average person should probably just eat more chicken and fish versus beef and things that have fat hidden in it. Generally, the beef that are the more expensive cuts of steaks have more fat in it, and that's why everybody looks for that fat that's intermingled there with that steak. Not that you shouldn't have it at all, but you should make sure that you have more greens, salads, cabbage, carrots, all of these things you need more so in your diet. So your food source your plate should have more of the green salad things on it versus potatoes. If you get potatoes, it's better to eat the red potatoes because that way your body doesn't break it down into sugar as quickly. And dark vegetables, dark fruit, dark breads if you're going to eat bread. But I am slowly removing bread out of my diet. Don't even want it because it has sugar and a lot of processed items in it.
So what's your opinion on things like the keto diet, which is out now and really popular? It seems like it's the hottest, fad diet right now, where you're eating mostly meat, very little carbohydrate. Is that something? But then when you mentioned about the fat, which is you always associate fat with meat, but then some doctors are saying that fat is not necessarily the enemy.
Right. I know there are a lot of people on the keto diet. I don't discourage anybody from doing what they feel can help them get to a healthier spot in their life. So, I can't comment on those diets. I do know a lot of people are using it. One of the things is to lose weight. So if it's helping you lose weight, then it's all good.
Is there a dangerous diet where you lose weight but you're not healthy?
There are a lot of diets out there, as it has been throughout history, and it just depends on the person and how long they're doing it. Most diets, if you follow it for a week or two and then go back to healthy eating, it helps to balance out. There are people that'll fast too, and that's good, but you shouldn't be on anything for a continual period of time. And you don't want to lose weight too fast because then you'll put that back on and probably more. So if you just develop a healthy eating style, that would be the best recommendation I could give to anybody.
Now, another big thing nowadays, and it seems like it's going to be the way of the future, is plant-based meats. So you have a lot of these Beyond Meat and all these other different types of, plant-based meat products, but they're not meat. They're using plants to make something that tastes like meat. Are these things truly healthy?
They're healthy if they're making it out of plant. Plant-based is very healthy. I myself has been trying plant-based cheese, just trying to get as much fat out of my diet as I possibly can. But I happen to love cheese, and I bought some and it tastes just like cheddar cheese. So you have to read the labels and do the investigation on the product. But there are a lot of items coming out that taste just like regular items, and it's probably more healthy for you.
Mm-hmm. The reason why I asked that question is because there was the Whopper that came out, the Impossible Whopper. So the Impossible Whopper actually has more calories than the regular Whopper, which is the Impossible Whopper is a plant-based Whopper, but it has more calories than a regular meat-based Whopper, which I'm not sure that's why I asked that question.
You'll have to be aware of all that depending on what they cook it in and if what kind of oil that they're cooking the foods in. And all oils, some oils are healthier, but all of them have the same amount of calories.
So is it better to use something like so another thing we talk about, I've been reading about, and I've been talking to some other people in the health and nutrition and things like that. They talk about the danger of using oils. So like trying to get away from even things like olive oil. They're saying, because like you mentioned, they all have the same amount of calories. Certain oils, like we went from butter to margarine, and now they're saying margarine is actually worse than butter. So how does that fit into our diet?
So scientifically, it's constantly evolving, and I just think that the listening audience out there should to educate yourself and make sure you read labels and see what'll work for you. I use olive oil almost exclusively because it does help to lower the bad fats. But, people have to look what works for them. We just want to encourage them to, eat right, exercise, drink more water than any other beverages, and try to practice a healthy lifestyle to extend your life as well as the quality of your life.
So what can parents do? Because I notice a lot of kids they're not as active. Like when I was a kid, I used to love to go outside, love to play army in the woods. You know, like me and my friends would get toy guns and go, you know, hunting and stuff like that, whatever, pretend hunting, whatever. But now kids are playing video games all day long. So that's the big thing. The kids are playing these video games. So how does a parent get their child to be more active and learn healthy behaviors?
I think the best thing is to be a role model for your child. Learn to cut off the video games. You know, they can play it for a certain amount of time, but otherwise they should be encouraged to go outside, take walks, ride a bike, rollerblade, swim. You know, take them to the park where there's like jungle gyms and stuff for them to play. And you teach them a healthy lifestyle. And that way they'll grow up developing a taste for certain vegetables and fruit, things like that, versus, you know, going to fast food stores and other, you know, you're in the grocery store and then you're going down the aisle that those aisles should have a danger sign on. Do not enter.
I also would like to see more kids in team sports. I think that's something that's really, really helpful if kids can learn. Because I think playing a sport, oftentimes, if you have a good coach, they talk about nutrition oftentimes and tell you, okay, it's better to be a better performer on the field, whether it's basketball court or a football field. There's certain things you want to put in your body, or certain things you don't want to put in your body if you want to perform better.
Yeah, I think team sports is also good for mental health because your child is learning how to give and take, how to process disappointment in life, and how to seek out others to help them, you know, like a coach. A lot of the kids will go to their coach and ask questions. So a lot of times people are struggling, but they don't know how to reach out to somebody to help them with those struggles. So I think team sports is wonderful.
So,
but also cross-country running, anything to get them out and get them involved.
Mm-hmm. And so now, do you see people learning not to eat as much fast food and junk food, like processed food, like chips and things like that? Chips are like, seems like kids love chips, especially hot chips. So do you see a trend where those might become healthier, or people stop eating as much?
Well, I see. I happen to love chips too, but you know what? When I go in the grocery store now, I have other options. I can get yucca chips. I can get black bean chips. There's a lot if you want that crunchy thing. I also will look for chips that don't have any added salt to it or low salt because, you know, salt's a big problem in our diet. So actually every day something else is coming out that will help you if you want to live a healthier food lifestyle. Like you don't have to just go to a health food store to find these items anymore. They're in major grocery stores and, you know, just about every place you go. It'd be nice if they put them in the vending machines and stuff to make things a little bit easier for people to get it, but it is available.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned that eating more dark-colored fruits and vegetables is a great start to try to put healthy things into your body. What would be like your top, say, 5 things that you would say not to put into your body?
Salt, sugar, reprocessed items. You know, they take everything out and then they put it back into bread, and overly processed foods, smoke foods.
Really?
Are yeah, smoke items. Yeah.
Really? Why is that?
Well, because they add a lot of salt to it to smoke in smokehouse. I once had a patient who was homeless, and he kind of brought that to my attention, that those are the foods that he get because he doesn't have access to refrigeration. So he'll buy, you know, like salami and things like that won't readily go bad as fast. So those are the key things: is the sugar, anything that says refined. I try not to eat. I'm not like a picky eater or anything like that, but I will try to avoid those things. If it's got refined on there, then that means they've taken things out. Even sugar, you get natural sugar is better for you than refined.
Now with breads, how do I'm sorry, go ahead.
You mentioned butter.
You're
If
breaking
you're
up a little
buying
bit.
butter,
You're breaking up a little
if
bit.
you're buying butter,
Mm-hmm.
look for the wrapping that has green on it, because that means it's from grass-fed cows.
So the wrapper has to have green on it?
Yeah, it indicates that it's grass-fed cows.
Okay. That's interesting. So how do you find, because I have a big problem with bread. I'm not a big bread eater per se, but I just usually just pick whatever the cheapest bread is off the shelf that seems to taste pretty good, because I have a hard time trying to decipher what is the healthy, the true whole grain bread versus the bad bread that has all this, that's not even really whole grain, even though it says whole grain on the label, but you know it's not real whole grain bread.
Your darker breads are better for you, and actually rye bread is a very good bread to have because it doesn't break down to sugar as quickly.
That's good to know. So rye bread, so there's a good thing to eat. If you know it's whole grain, maybe a whole grain, dark whole grain, like pumpernickel, I'm guessing, because it's dark. It's a dark bread.
Yeah, all of those.
Wow. So where do you see this trend headed? Do you see more? Do you think it's going to continue for kids to keep getting these fatty livers?
If they don't change their lifestyle, yeah, we're starting to see it. So once the healthcare industry starts seeing a number of things that you normally don't see, it starts to be a problem. And generally, our community is more affected a lot earlier than other communities, just because of the things we like to eat and the money that we have to spend on that. So you have to monitor and try to buy things on sale. And that'll help you to stretch your dollars.
And then do you see the food industry, because in my opinion, I may be more cynical about it, but I think the food industry is constantly pushing or trying to sell us that they're giving us healthier food, but they're really just giving us cheaper food, probably something that's easier for them to sell. So do you think that the food industry is actually evolving and starting to give us more healthier options? Because like I said, we have the plant-based meat, but then there's some studies that show that plant-based meat is not actually any healthier than this regular meat.
So I think the industry, like any other industry, will listen to the demand of the people, and that's why we're having a lot of more healthy choices available to us at mainstream grocery stores. So the industry is going to go where they see they can sell the most items, like your major companies that manufacture Coca-Cola and Pepsi. They now have bottled water. So they don't want to lose that market share to other companies that were producing bottled water. So they're now have their own brand of bottled water.
So what can we do as consumers to try to be more proactive in trying to get the companies that produce our food to give us healthier options?
Right. I think if as we as a people demand these things to be available to us, then the market will make it so.
So voting with your dollars, about not buying stuff, but then you have to be more educated. So you got to figure out, what types of things maybe are not good for me.
Yeah, more educated. I look at say cell phones. In the beginning, they were so expensive, and the carriers are very expensive, and now the cost is dropping on that. So I think the more educated the public becomes and the more demanding they become, these companies will listen. I've even seen green beans now offered in the aisles where chips used to be. So it's coming out there, and I think they are hearing the public demand.
So do you see, this is a question, I guess it's maybe a nail in a coffin question, because I want to know if you have any idea if you ever see vegans with fatty liver.
I don't know, but I do know that there are people whose bodies will not process fat sufficiently so that your cholesterol levels can go up and everything. So I know people who are pretty much are vegans, but they have the same problem. But I think also they have to exercise and then it's not a lot, but there are some whose body is not breaking down the fat the way it should be broken down.
Wow. So you're saying that sometimes even if you're a vegan or you're eating nothing but plants, I mean, you're trying to stay away from anything that's animal-based, you still can have a risk of gaining fat or getting or gaining
Yeah,
weight.
you still have a risk of all known health issues. You still have a risk of health problems. It just minimizes it. You still have a risk of cancer, but the better you eat, the more exercise you do, the probability of that happens decreases, but it doesn't mean that it won't happen.
And also, last but not least, can you clarify for us, like herbs versus salt and pepper? So some people use a lot of seasoning on their foods. How do we separate the healthy seasonings from maybe the things we want to lighten up on as far as seasoning our food?
I don't, a lot of the seasonings have salts in them, so you have to be mindful of that. But I find that even just some chicken broth goes a long way to season food. So a lot of things that we want to put in is just because of habit or how we were raised. But growing up, especially those that are older, we didn't have the education needed to start our life out in a more healthy manner. But now people are more aware of it. So hopefully it'll decrease. But just be mindful of the salts and things. I was watching a program the other day, and they were showing all the season. They were putting garlic salt. They were putting this salt and that salt. And they were adding flavor, but they were also adding a lot of unnecessary salts to the food.
Wow. So
I did want to address the conversation we had last week about abortion.
Mm-hmm.
And we had discussed about being on maybe what the federal government would do. And so just recently in the last week or so, they have had conversation by making this available on government land. So that's something that to be followed. Of course, no decision has been made yet, but, people are preparing for a negative outcome. So
that's what we're hearing. You're hearing that looks like it's going to be overturned. So
yeah.
So any final words? What's the last takeaway we need to know about fatty liver, especially with kids? What do kids need to be doing?
The last takeaway is you don't show your child love by overfeeding them and not feeding them the proper diet. A lot of kids who are overweight are because the family they're not planning their meals out and doing things that are convenient. But the bottom line is love your child. Don't feed them to death, but feed them healthy. Get them out there if you have the time. I know a lot of parents don't. But if you can plan out your dinner, have conversations with your kids. Let them pick out healthy choices. Kids are very bright. They're on it. So, trust your child.
Trust your child. I believe that. All right, Adelena Marshall, thanks for your time. We appreciate the information you've given us. And parents, make sure you feed your kids healthier foods. Fatty liver is not a joke. It's something that's coming up with these young kids.